Hey everyone, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio, and I'm going to tell you the truth about the world of sports. I'm your host, Ron Fitch. I want to get into the NFL, NCAA. They got the rankings out, your top four, and more thoughts on Kyrie Irving. Okay, football, we're looking at the standings. And last week, I thought some of the games that were noteworthy. The Jets, everybody's talked about it nauseum. The Bills getting beat by the Jets. What I took out of this at times, and I always say this, at times Josh Allen could be sloppy. He's got MVP. He's got an MVP DNA in his blood, but he just could just make a bad throw here and there that could just be costly. And I just wonder about that. And I also wonder if the Bills are going to get home field. And I'll talk about the Chiefs in a minute. With the Chiefs winning, of course, the Bills beat the Chiefs. They beat Tennessee. They destroyed Tennessee. But they lost at Miami. They lost to the Jets. They got to go to the Patriots. They got some tough games ahead. And another thing I don't like, every time I look at the stat line, I'm looking for the leading rusher, and it's always Josh Allen. Josh Allen passing. Josh Allen, and now his elbow's hurt. This is not a good long-term recipe. He could run. He's big and strong, but you're getting hit a lot. You're going to run like a running back. You're going to get hurt like a running back. And something I did notice, Diggs caught that first pass on Sauce Gardner, and he did his talking. I was like, caught a bomb. I was like, oh, shoot. He is going to go off. After that, he got shut down. Sauce Gardner, big, tall, great young cornerback. Their whole secondary did their job making plays after plays after plays. So, and then Whitehead with the interception at the goal line to set the tone. Gardner got an interception. It was just they stuffed the Bills cold. And Wilson, he's pedestrian. You don't want him to be lousy. Last week he was lousy. He's pedestrian this week. But the Jets defense is really good from the front end to the back end. I mean, this defense, you got C.J. Mosley, one of the leading tacklers in the NFL, and Whitehead and Reed and Sauce in the back end. I mean, and they're good. They're stout up front, so you're not going to run on them. You're not going to pass on them. They're getting good quickly. I just hated that they lost their best rusher in Moss, and it's just it's a shame that they don't have their best running back. I mean, that was just unfortunate. I mean, Breece Hall. I apologize, Breece Hall. Not having Breece Hall could affect them down the line. But let's look at Buffalo's schedule. Minnesota at home, Cleveland at Detroit on Thanksgiving, which could be a tricky at New England, Jets, Miami, at Chicago, at Cincinnati, New England again. That's a tough road to hoe. Kansas City, who had the hardest schedule, one of the hardest schedules in NFL history, is going through the gauntlet. Now they have a little easier schedule. And we'll talk about the other team, big dog in AFC, the Chiefs. That was a gutsy win because the Tennessee Titans punched them in the face all game long. It was a Tennessee kind of game, but Tennessee didn't run the ball. When they had the 17-9 lead, they didn't run the ball. They had a chance. They stuffed the Chiefs in the back of their own goal line. Chiefs punted. And you got the ball with a chance to get a field goal that would have ended the game. 20-9 is an insurmountable lead the way the defense is playing. And they just gave up a couple of long scrambles by Mahomes. Mahomes willed it that game because they double teamed Kelsey. And the other guys, Juju's going to get open. Juju's 10, between 6 yards and 15 yards, Juju will get you that. This is when you miss Tyreek Hill because there's a certain kind of defense you can't play. With Tyreek Hill, he's going to blow the top off the defense. So you can't just game Kelsey. Because if you do that, the cheater's going to be running wild, and they'll be having 50, 60, 70-yard bombs down the field. So you got to honor that and back your safeties and corners up. Now Kelsey gets room. But in this game, they don't. Hardman doesn't scare them. And Juju's intermediate. He's not a blazer. That's Kadarius Toney, maybe. He could be something. But the other guys are all complementary pieces. So the complementary pieces are not open. And Mahomes said, listen, I got to run. He's not just a guy that's just going to run. He runs when he has to. And he had to. And he did it. He ran it on the long third down play. And he ran on 2-point conversion and scored. And he did what he had to do. And Tennessee was so stingy when the Chiefs got the ball, they normally score. They couldn't even score. So they had to settle for a field goal. But Malik Willis is limited. He can't. He wasn't going to do nothing. And then in overtime, the only chance they had, I thought, I'd have kept Derrick Henry in the whole game. I'm not putting in Hilliard. I'm going, in this kind of game, I would have threw a screen pass at the end of that game to Henry and let him do what I got to have my best player get the ball somehow and not in a running when they got 9 in the box and they know it's coming. I got to maybe play fake him, let him catch the ball, and then in space do something. That was their only hope. But they blew an opportunity. And now they could have had the Chiefs come to their place, to head-to-head. But even if Tannehill comes back, as great as that defense is, and they didn't have Dupree and their best pass rush out for the season, they are going to have to go to Buffalo. They got annihilated there in Kansas City, which are the same thing's not going to happen where it's going to be close like that. But the Ravens had a nice win. They did a good job of using Jackson. They ran the ball well. Drake likely got a touchdown. It's just they had a multiple sack game, and now the Ravens are now in a good place. I can tell you right now. They're in a good place because Calais Campbell and those boys they now have help. And once they got the help they needed via Chicago, that is extra. That's extra to go along with what they had. Very, 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 very impressed with Baltimore and how they played. But I don't think it's even as good as they've been playing. Cincinnati and Baltimore are going to beat each other up. They did the first game. They got to play it again in Cincinnati. That's going to be for the division. And whoever the team loses to Cleveland, Pittsburgh, is going to cost them. I do believe Pittsburgh's going to be better toward the end with Pickett learning more, and Deshaun Watson comes back from Cleveland, so they're going to be live dogs. They're going to be sitting there ruining either Cincinnati or Baltimore's season if they don't watch it, and that's going to be the interesting part about that division. But and then I will say this: I don't trust the coach, but I love Herbert, and they went to Atlanta and won. Herbert could will his team, and they're going to get guys back. Sosa and their receivers are going to get back. So that's going to change a lot. They're going to be a lot better. But, they got Kansas City and the Chargers play late. I suspect that's going to be for the division when they play the Chiefs November 20th. They got San Francisco. That's a tough game. But Herbert, you never know. And they got Vegas. At Vegas, that could be a pain in the neck. Miami, Tennessee, Rams, and Denver. I want to watch every one of those games because San Diego's an exciting team to watch. But is Buffalo and Kansas City are eyeing each other right now? If you look, they're both 6-2. Baltimore and Tennessee, I don't think are going to be able to catch because of their schedules. And then when you talk about the wild card, Jets and New England play each other. That could eliminate one of those teams. Miami's going to keep. I think Miami's going to get better. They got to play a little better defense, but they have the most explosive wide receiving tandem on the planet Earth. You have to fear Waddle and the Cheetah could beat you deep at any time, and they love to go deep. But Mostert could beat you, and now that they have the kid from San Francisco at the running back, they and a good tight end, they are complete. In Cincinnati, so you got Cincinnati, New England, the Chargers, Miami, the Jets all fighting for spots. And the NFC, you got the Eagles that are, I mean, they're going to have some tough games coming up, but they should win the division. Dallas should make the playoffs. The Niners and the Niners have to beat the Chargers. The Niners lose to the Chargers. It's going to be a tough road to hoe as far as getting the division. They'll make the wild card because they're going to win this with Ayuk and all those boys coming back, and you got McCaffrey, you got Debo coming back, you got Ayuk, and you got those monster tight ends when you're talking about Kittle and Usyk and McCaffrey. I mean, I don't trust Garofalo, but they're so good it doesn't matter. They still can get to the Super Bowl. They got one of the best safeties in the league. They got the best linebacking core. They got Armstead and Bosa. They're just completely loaded at everywhere. But they're 4-4. If they lose the Chargers, it'll be 4-5. That means they're probably gonna fight for a wild card. They win, they're in play for the division. They have to go to Seattle and win. Seattle keeps playing well. And what I like is how tough the Seahawks are. Geno Smith. The Cardinals came back on them and they had a money drive to put the game away. Kenneth Walker is one of the best running backs in the entire league right now, even at the rookie position. Where you got those monsters at receiver with Lockett, that's as good as you get. And Lockett at Metcalf, and then Fant gives you good stats. They're definitely loaded. Now, the Rams are done. And the Rams are done because the Rams were stupid. I'm surprised that great coach had a stupid moment. Being conservative all the time. And then with the chance to put the game away, they didn't. They get pinned in their own end zone, and there's a minute left. Tampa has 3 timeouts. McVay's got to say, listen, we can't be conservative. Because even with a little bit of time, we're not. He's going to have the short field. He's going to go down, and Brady's going to go down and beat us. I would have threw a couple of passes. If there's more time on the clock, you're going to lose anyway. I would have said, listen, we're not going to run on first. We're going to run a first down, see where it goes. Cooper Kupp did good. I'm passing the ball. I'm saying Kupp get open. Jefferson, we're going to do something short. We're going to do something where you find the sticks, get open, get the first down. We run the clock out. We get out of Tampa with a win. Now your season's over. And I don't know if they're going to get Odell Beckham, but with the line hurt, they don't have the line. It's not the same. You're not getting a pass rush. They're playing soft coverage. The coverage toward the end against Brady was idiotic, giving them the sidelines, giving them the deep ball, giving them everything. It's almost like you want to take that last try. That was horrible. But nevertheless, Tampa will probably win the division. Even if they're under 500, I don't trust any of the other teams. My guys, Carolina had a chance blowing that game in Atlanta. I was hoping that, my buddies at quarterback, and I was just hoping that somehow, some way, PJ Walker was going to be able to get that win last week. And then if you lose to Cincinnati, that's okay, because you have 3 wins and you're still in it. But it's going to be hard pressed now. And Minnesota, like I said, they are loaded. I do not trust Cousins. I can see Philadelphia first going in the AFC title game. If you're Minnesota, you got to keep winning. You want to make sure that You don't have Cousins going to Seattle or Tampa, or I mean, eventually you probably have to go to Philadelphia because you got trounced head to head. But you at least want to get to the AFC NFC Championship game, and they got to keep winning. They don't need to go on the road anywhere. I don't trust Cousins on the road. I barely trust them at home, but I would give them a puncher's chance to get to Philadelphia if Philadelphia continues to do what they have to do and they get home field. And then, they're not winning in Philadelphia. In college football, the committee got it right. They got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4, Tennessee 5, Oregon 6, LSU 7, USC 8, Alabama 9, and Clemson 10. I would switch Clemson out. I make Ole Miss because Clemson got destroyed by Notre Dame, and Clemson's a fraud. I'd have Ole Miss at 10. There's some interesting things here. Georgia destroyed Tennessee. I never saw one punt change the trajectory of a game with the punter of Georgia pin Tennessee back in a tight game, and Tennessee couldn't get out of the end zone. Georgia scores, and it was 27-6, and then the game was it was a blitzkrieg. And they ended up winning big. With a lot of respect for how Georgia won. They were sound. I mean, it was just a complete effort. They beat up Tennessee's high-powered offense. That quick striking offense got nowhere. They had a late touchdown, but that didn't mean anything. Hendon Hooker, no TDs, only 195 yards passing. Bennett was 257 yards. They didn't run the ball like crazy, but McConkey was sneaky good, and they did what they had to do. They don't overwhelm you offensively, but they're physical offensively. They're really physical defensively. They shut you down. They attack you. They beat you up physically, and that's what they gave Tennessee, a good fashion physical beating. And the other game that Notre Dame destroying Clemson. I thought Clemson. I was doing my interview with the great Chris Stanley. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame beat them, and Notre Dame trounced them. It didn't surprise me. The Pac-12 is going to be interesting because USC barely beat California at home. UCLA had a bad loss with Oregon. Oregon's the only hope. If Oregon gets beat, I don't think they get a team in. And I'm going to tell you something else. Texas is going to beat TCU this week. And that makes things. Now, if TCU wins, everything's on schedule. They'll probably get in. LSU, I'm going to tell you something. That is the interesting deal. LSU's got to beat Arkansas. Say, for instance, this is crazy now. Stay with me. LSU loses at home and lose on the road to Arkansas, because Arkansas is going to be fired up about that loss to Liberty. They lose on the road to Texas A&M. That opens the door for Ole Miss and Alabama. The Ole Miss Alabama winner knows their fate at 12 o'clock. At about 3 o'clock before kickoff, if LSU loses, those teams, because Alabama lost twice on the road in close games. If they beat Ole Miss, I mean, I don't know if they're going to, because their defense at times can be putrid. If they beat Ole Miss, I mean, they don't deserve it, but Oregon could get in. And they get in the finals in the SEC, and Ole Miss or Alabama, that winner, can get in if LSU loses those two games, and they beat Georgia in an upset, an undefeated Georgia team. Georgia's going to stay in. The Ohio State-Michigan winner is going to stay in. And then the SEC winner is going to stay in. And if TCU loses to Texas, which I believe they will, there'll be no room. But if LSU wins and they get their vision, so they'll be already automatically slated to play Georgia, no matter what happens with Texas A&M. But if they play Georgia and beat Georgia, they'll be in. And then LSU will be the team, and then Ohio State winner, Michigan winner, TCU, or if they don't win, LSU gets in, and then Tennessee could get in. But for Tennessee, they need Georgia to run the table. So Georgia runs the table. Ohio State, Michigan winner is going to get in. Tennessee will be in, and if TCU could actually be in, it wouldn't affect TCU. But say, for instance, Texas loses, then TCU and Oregon can get in. I think this is going to be jumbled up when Texas beats TCU, and if ever LSU loses, then Alabama Ole Miss takes on a different light. If LSU wins in Alabama and Ole Miss is for pride and higher a higher bowl game, because they won't make it. So that's where I am with college football.